Hello, I have my daughter Pearl with me. Pearl, say hi.
Hi.
She's going to quiz me on whether or not I can guess Taylor Swift songs by humming them. All right, Pearl, do you have your first song picked?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. She wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts. She's cheer captain and I'm in the bleachers. What is it called? You Belong With Me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I got one. That was your easy one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now is the time for me to leave everything I know behind.
For those who don't know, that's my 10-year-old daughter, Pearl. And it is a very good guess as to what we're going to talk about this week. My 10-year-old daughter and my wife are both really into Taylor Swift. And I've been exposed to so much Taylor Swift in the last few months that it bears talking about, I feel.
And therefore you are making us all talk.
I'm making you all.
So, even though we have no exposure to Taylor
Them's
Swift.
the rules of rabbit fighters.
In case you have a daughter someday, Brian, or who knows? Who knows what the future will bring?
May we suggest Taylor as a name?
We'll see how this episode goes.
Tay.
You heard him. If this episode gets over 200 listens, Brian will name his firstborn child Taylor.
Smash that like button. Smash and subscribe.
Tell your friends. 10 years from now, this could be you, Brian, having this very scenario play out for you. So this week, anyway, yeah, we're
Big thanks to Margaret.
No, yeah, no problem. Yeah, to my wife. She put together a playlist for us to listen to, spanning a good cross section of the Swift career, and also tuned me into this movie, Miss Americana, which is a documentary on Netflix about Taylor Swift. And, it's a little more in depth than all the trashy news crap that.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
I learned she has a lot of albums. I didn't know she had
It's a lot of albums.
I thought maybe she had a quarter of the number of albums that I've
I
seen.
know.
How many does she have?
She has 11, I think. So 11
okay, so
and
double
plus
digits.
live stuff and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But like studio albums, I think she has about 11. In the movie, chronicles this too. She starts out as a kid. She likes country music. She writes and performs the kind of stuff that she listens to. So she writes and performs early country music songs. She gets an early country music career.
Has a series of terrible relationships. And then here we are. She's a billionaire.
Well, she starts out as a kid, likes country music, meets the world, and everyone in it, and then is influenced by the world and everyone in it and becomes a more complicated and interesting person that you would hope someone would, with that much exposure.
I don't know much of the childhood years, but anytime I see a young person performing in glitter, I'm thinking like pageantry. Were you forced into this? But it doesn't seem like that. It seems like she was her dream desire to become a musician from a very young age. But I always think man, her parents really are they pushing her towards this? Because it seems really weird.
Yeah.
But
from what I understand, she has a famous opera singer as a grandmother or something like that.
Really?
So
She does. Yeah, that's what that song is about.
Marjorie.
Marjorie is the name of her
know.
grandmother.
I didn't
know.
Who was
Investigative
who was
journalism.
an opera singer. But yeah, her parents, I get the feeling that her parents kind of went along for the ride. Rather than driving it and being stage parents, I think she was really driven from an extremely early age, which you see in this movie, in this Miss Americana movie. There's all this old, home video footage of her writing her dreams to be a star in her diary, and her writing songs in her living room with a guitar. She's already playing the guitar. I think probably one of the more charming moments in the movie is when she opens a guitar for Christmas and looks up at the camera and she's like, I am happy. I was like, that's friggin' adorable. But she's one of those kids who is just born knowing what they want to do, and
Which
is one of the.
I don't get.
Yeah,
I've never had a taste, even a glimpse of that in my own life.
I know.
I know exactly what I want to do. No, not for a second.
But yeah, she's one of those people that knows right away what she wants to do, and one of the rare people that actually wants to work at it. And
so it sounds like Greg admires her quite a bit.
Yeah,
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's the feeling I'm getting.
I'd always had classified her as these canned performers that are attractive, get elevated by some studio that's like, we're going to write a bunch of hits for you, you're going to perform them, and then we're going to market the hell out of you, and you're just a vessel for our crap, pop hits that we churn out in some factory somewhere. Yeah, I didn't have any idea that she wrote her own songs, that she plays 12-string guitar, she plays piano, she records her own stuff and like plays it back on an iPhone to people in the studio and like just organically creates, music like that. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I had kind of lumped her in with the factory musicians that have like, in the 80s and 90s would have like Diane Warren writing songs for him, like I miss you, babe, and I don't want to miss a thing friggin' crap that like Aerosmith covered. That's a Diane Warren song. Whoever doesn't know. Yeah. Diane Warren is this lady
Steven Tyler did not write that?
No, he did not.
Jesus Christ.
Diane Warren wrote it. She writes all these trashy like pop hits. She's done it for like 50 years.
Hollywood's so fake.
And she was like, I wrote this song, and originally I wanted it to be for a lady to sing, but then I figured it would be great to have some really tough guys sing it,
While on asteroids hitting the Earth.
Yeah, I know. So
Greg, did you first get acquainted with Taylor Swift's music via your wife and your daughter, or was it earlier than that?
Yeah, it's kind of like how a lot of people find stuff just by being around it. Like I've talked to a lot of women that are like, I like football now, and I never watched football, but my husband / boyfriend / partner, whoever, watches football all the time, and I sat next to them because it was important to them, and then eventually I saw enough of it and I learned the rules and was like, I like it now. But yeah, it's like that. It's like, you're next to it for a while and you're like, oh, dismiss, and then you're like, well, this one's catchy, but the rest of it's crap, I think, and then, it really, when Pearl started busting into it, she's one of those people that wants to hear stuff all the time. And I drive her to and from soccer practices, and I've been just handing her my phone, and it's connected to the car speakers. And I'm like, just DJ us to and from practice, and she always just puts on Taylor Swift, and she'll be like, "Oh, play this one," and she'll play the same song a million times, and then she'll go on to a few other ones. So gradually, you're like, "Oh yeah, this is one of the better ones," and yeah, it just seeps its way in.
All right, that's kind of how I envisioned it would be introduced into a household. You have a young daughter who hears about it and starts listening to it, and then before you know it, it's just throughout the entire house. So.
First with my wife, and then a bunch later, Pearl hit it, found it with a vengeance, and all of her friends listened to it. They all sing Taylor Swift songs like a cappella as they run around the field and stuff.
All right, so I knew maybe, honestly, 2 songs by Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
and one of them is not even on this playlist that Margaret made for us, the Shake It Off song. Or
she left that off on purpose.
Okay, so that's the one I do know pretty well from. God, it must have been in a movie or something like that, like a kids movie back in the day. It's
been a million things.
Yeah. So I think I've lived under a rock for this particular genre of music, and so. I'm glad you suggested this, because it was definitely an education. I kind of enjoyed going down the rabbit hole to sort of piece it all together, because I think I had a lot of misconceptions about who Taylor Swift is and was, and a lot that I don't feel was a misconception I still kind of feel about. But the Miss Americana documentary that was on Netflix, I'm not gonna lie, I had a hard time getting through it.
Oh yeah,
I had a real hard, like I watched 10 minutes of it, and then I was like, I can't, I gotta turn it off, I'll come back to this later. I'm not
Really?
the right mindset for it. Like it really felt like a kind of a puff piece, and just but then I stopped, and then I came back to it, and then I watched it all the way through, and I made it all the way through.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But there were a lot of things that popped out at me that I enjoyed about it, and I found like kind of instructional. It is. I mean, it's a documentary, so I guess I got to feel like the documentarian. Who was it? Lena Wilson, who directed it. Is a respected filmmaker, and wasn't just sort of making this film to prop up Taylor Swift. She does have a very, compelling story. I didn't know she started in country specifically, like full on country. Like, yeah. I liked the political aspects of it. It was interesting to see, her, like the archival footage and her growing into a little bit more of a self-aware adult and sort of figuring out how to wield her considerable power in the world. Obviously, the whole like male-centric world, gender dynamic of a young female carving her path and not kowtowing to the opinions of, straight white men like us who are having a podcast talking about Taylor Swift and our opinions about it. So I'm aware. Yeah, it definitely took a very two-dimensional view that I had of this figure out in the world, and it turned it into more of a three-dimensional person. Brian, let's do a round table. What do you think, man?
Is this what I thought, or what I knew of Taylor Swift?
Yeah, what would you know of Taylor Swift? Say, Brian, 2009.
Let's be honest. It's certainly not this is not my musical genre of choice, but I mean, I wasn't living under a rock. I know her hits. I remember like bits and pieces. Like I kind of remember thinking of her as sort of when she was making that transition from that to pop, like where she would still like be more singer songwriter with the guitar singing and not have the pop production and stuff. So I remember that, and then I remember the whole Kanye feud. That was like a big deal, kind of. And
so weird.
Yeah, that was so bizarre. And I remember she sort of exploded around that. Then she did an album, like, was it like 1984? Was it
1989? Yeah. 1984 was Van Halen.
Oh, wow.
God.
Yeah.
See, if Taylor Swift would have just done a cover of all of 1984, that completely would have been in my Q zone.
I'm a teacher.
1984 Taylor's version. That's awesome. You heard it here, Taylor. You go out to a Van Halen cover.
I want to hear her play Eruption on a 12-string guitar.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where all those, like, I feel like explosion happened of all these hits. Well, because that was like had Shake It Off and stuff on it.
89, yeah, the 1989 album was a monster.
Yeah. And then
didn't like Ryan Adams do a cover of that whole album?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think so. I think that
sounds like something he would do.
Yeah, that was like the first inkling that I had heard of, like, her spoken about by people who don't normally listen to pop music, who were like lending a more, like, I don't know, a higher level of credibility. Like, oh, you got to hear this album because Ryan Adams really does it justice, and there's really a lot more depth to it than you would think. And so then, anyway.
And then there's the whole controversy around her albums, and I remember that kind of popping up. So, I mean, plus she's the largest pop star in the world. Like, how do you avoid some, that kind of thing? So I can't say I'm super familiar with her music. I mean, outside of the hits, and that's not fair. I feel like it's like I know the bops, that are on the fucking radio. It's like, but she has, so like you said, she has 12 studio albums. I probably know one album's worth of material. So I can't say but I thought the documentary was interesting in that, I mean, it's interesting in that you're just watching someone grow up. I mean, you see her from, they're becoming more self-aware as she becomes more of an adult and experiences like, some of the shittier things in life, like that whole scenario with the lawsuit and that asshole grabbing her. And
that was a baller move to sue him back for $1.
I know. I didn't hear about that shit either.
And then, she sued him for $1. Like, just on principle. Like, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So it's obviously like not for the money, fucker. It's.
Yeah, the principle, the thing. And, I think, and it's kind of, it seemed like that beat was a pivoting point where she was kind of, I wonder if some of that came with like her popularity or just age, kind of where she felt like, because I mean, a theme in this whole thing, it's clearly evident that she's a ridiculously hard worker, because I don't think you get that far in life without just working hard. And there's obviously, she's very talented in the songwriting capabilities and those type of things to where, I think that has someone who, I will say this on a very, 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 very tiny scale, has attempted to write music with people before and things like that. Like, it's not that effortless when you watch someone do that like that, where you're just like riffing lyrics and you got someone that's just playing different and you're like kind of coming up with something. Like, I've tried working with people before. It's fucking hard to like make music with people if you're just not like.
But were you making a pop song?
No, I was not making a pop
song. Were you making more of like a rock and roll song?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, or whatever's in the room. You know, you're just trying to come up with something, and you're not like. It's very hard to just have someone sit at a piano and be like, dun, dun, okay, well, I like that. I like, then just like move with it and create like a whole fucking verse, like in 10 minutes. Like,
I'm not saying anything, and this is definitely from the cheap seats because I've never written a song in my entire life, and I'm pretty much tone deaf. Yeah, like I can't tell a C from an F, and I've tried over and over to try and learn that shit. So I have big props to anyone who can do that, but I do also feel like there's a big difference between pop music and the simplicity of it and other genres of music. From the cheap seats, never written one, but
I don't think pop music. I've written songs too. I was in a band, and it's funny because I would do the same thing that she did. I would, because I don't play an instrument, I would just come up with songs in my head, and I'd get out a phone. I had this little recorder, sing stuff into it, and like it was just funny to see someone who's like a billionaire talking into an iPhone in his studio and just being like, same thing, just being like, that's the beauty of music. You can create it any way that you feel like creating it.
I think for me, it's like musically, it's not like my sweet spot for what I want to listen to. Well, and this is where Joshua was going. I feel like pop music in general to me feels very repetitive. Like, and not like I need like super complex songs. I think a lot of it is sort of the emotion and kind of, she makes a point of saying, and everyone says this, right? She has touched so many fans and people because she's hit on multiple generations, because essentially they've grown up with her throughout these albums. And it's like,
they've literally grown up
10 years older. I have not grown up with Taylor Swift. I couldn't tell you who she was dating. I mean, I know Travis Kelce now, but I mean, in the documentary, she's dating some other guy who I have no idea who he is. If he was famous or not? I don't know. Some guy named Joe. I don't know.
Yeah. He's an English guy.
Is he a musician?
I think he's an actor. I think his name is Joe Alwyn. But she was with him for like 6 years, I think. That was the part of the movie where stuff goes to shit. And this is the other thing the movie really recalibrated how I thought about her. And obviously the movie's like a soft touch, right? Like it's heavily edited. It's not like we're digging into the seedy underbelly of Taylor Swift's life. Blah. It's like a gentle friend following her around and mostly just shutting up and letting her talk.
It's not objective, but it's not supposed to be. So I don't know exactly. Go into that expecting to see the truth, because that's not what you're there for. So
but at the same time, she starts out as a kid with kid fans, and her music appealed to younger people because it's really like wide-eyed and innocent and full of like she's a teenager talking about getting married. These songs are all about like, you belong with me, oh Romeo and Juliet, marry me Romeo, and all these are the ones that Pearl likes the best, and she plays them again and again, and you're like, you're a teenager singing this stuff, you have no idea about marriage, love, commitment, what all this stuff, but you don't think about that when you're a teenager. I remember being in love with a girl when I was a teenager and thinking like, this is the most important thing that's ever going to happen to me, this girl that I like. And that's how people started out with her. They started out with her as kids. And it's kind of like the Harry Potter stories where they start out where Harry is a little kid and it appealed to little kids. And then the fans grew up with, the story. And in this case, the fans are growing up with her as a singer and songwriter. And so as they're maturing, she's writing songs that are more mature, and they keep connecting with these people. And then she stays famous, so new generations hear the first stuff as kids and then can find all the stuff that leads up to their, milestones again. So it's just a cyclical ladder of maturation for the fan base and the music that goes hand in hand. And that's a really big part of what makes her so popular. Pearl's Taylor Swift quiz part 2. Okay, now do you have a medium hard one? The Romeo and Juliet one?
Yeah, but what's the name?
Marry me, Juliet.
That's not the name.
I wanna be your dude.
What?
If you say no, I think that would be a rude. Love Story? Is it called Love Story?
Yeah.
Yay! All right, I got it. All right, good.
Yeah, I agree. And I personally hate the ridiculous obsession with celebrities, like people's obsession with famous people and celebrity, whether that's an American obsession. Like, you could not pay me money to sit outside of Taylor Swift's house or any celebrity's house. Who gives a shit?
It's crazy.
They're people. Like,
it's fucking crazy.
Guess what? They drink coffee and they do the same things that you do. They just happen to have a talent. And it's like, to be like obsessive.
Is there a single person that you would be starstruck by, Brian?
No.
If you ran into them in the wild.
Not like I could say to somebody going, oh, whoa, that's crazy. Like that someone is here that I know. But would I approach them? No. Would I ask them for things? No. Like, there's a poster behind me with Wilco. Like, fan of that band. I sat next to Jeff Tweedy at breakfast one morning, and I was like, oh, that's fucking Jeff Tweedy sitting next to me at breakfast. And I was just like, that's kind of cool. And I was like, I thought it more was like, hey, look, he likes fucking eggs too. I don't know. But it was like, I wasn't going to be like, oh my God, like, oh, like who cares? Like,
was he a good tipper?
I don't know. He was talking to some person. Like he was having breakfast with a friend. About. Like I was. Like he's a person that does normal things. Like it's like he just happens to write songs.
He cracked a tooth on a walnut shell, and it was in his salad, and you were like, champagne problems.
God, his eggs came out first. Champagne
fucking
problems.
Jeff Tweedy.
Like I don't
stars and their broken teeth.
I would love someone to not explain to me, but. Yeah, being starstruck to me is different than being an obsessive fan that sees them as some sort of like
okay, that's fair
supernatural. Like there's that scene in the documentary where she's in maybe Japan,
yeah.
And like
I was gonna
the guy's
this.
like gonna cry, and these people are freaking out. I'm like, it's a person.
Yeah,
like,
somebody proposed to another person.
That was the one I was gonna mention.
Jeez.
Where I was like. I mean, there was one guy with like a colorful hat, and he was clearly a little unbalanced, and he was just like,
and she's like, do you want me to hug you? He's like, yes. Okay.
But then like the marriage proposal, I was like, what a bananas fucking life this is. What a bananas fucking life.
I love
the
her
guy's
reaction.
Like,
she was just like, okay. Like
that was the one time I felt really bad for her. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's the most awkward of all situations to be put in. Like,
this is why these people date celebrities. Everyone's like, why
it makes sense.
Celebrities always date each other and it never works out? It's like, because no one else can relate to them. Like she's talking to that guy from Panic at the Disco when they're recording his vocal tracks for that song Me. And she's like, yeah, some guy broke into my apartment, was sleeping in my bed. And like, I was like, not about that. And he's like, oh yeah, like some guy broke into my house, like these crazed fans were doing like, it's the only other type of person who can relate to you is like, oh yeah, someone also broke into my apartment and like, slept with an effigy of me or, like who else can understand you?
So, I mean, this is the essence of pop stardom though, is that it's not a typical type of music because it is a production. It is a product that elevates them into a different category of existence altogether. Yeah. And I'm not a higher existence. I'm not going that far, but a different category of existence, and one where we as normal mortals. Yeah. How do we even begin to say anything coherent? I mean, I can have an opinion about her jetting around on a private jet everywhere, as a bad thing. I can also have an opinion about her wielding her power to try and sway folks to reject, fascist Tennessee politicians, which is a very good thing. But aside from that, it's like I can't look at her music and have any connection to it whatsoever because it's any aspect of it that looks recognizable to me is always taken away from the fact that she's existing in this whole other realm in a different society altogether that we're not a part of, that she's not a part of our society. She used to be, maybe, I don't know. But like all of these songs are just, they're not connected to reality in any way, shape, or form. And so I have no connection to it at all.
Oh, they are though. Like I really disagree with that. I mean, like that's like saying that anyone who gets famous ever, like any actor, any musician, any politician, anyone who's famous is no longer a real person and doesn't have real stuff going on in their life and is disconnected with reality.
There's famous, and then there's Taylor Swift famous, where she's bigger than most economies in the world.
But like she's just singing songs about love. That's what most people want to hear and sing about. Like that song "Lover," it's like you're my lover. Like how much more basic and real can that be? And that's written to someone that she was in love with. But most of the stuff she sings about is just regular shit, and that's why all these fans connect with her. And you know, she has that concert after the sexual assault trial where you know the guy, idiot, sued her, and then she has to countersue him. But she's talking about it in the concert. She's sitting at the piano and talking about this, and she's playing a song relating to this thing that happened to her. And I'm like, how many women in that crowd have had something like this happen to them, or exactly this, or something way fucking worse? And she's like, I'm so grateful that someone believed me, but I know that there are loads of you out there that haven't been believed, you know, because you're not famous. And like, how much more fucking real of a connection is that? You know, like,
I mean, it's not a connection to me. I wish nothing but wellness to anyone else who, like, if you found your artist, you've found your genre of music and it speaks to you and it makes you happy. Very nice. Very good. And I'm not saying that from any level of like objectivity that this is bad. This is not real art or anything like that. It's just, it's not made for me. So why should I have an opinion on it?
Because we have a podcast and you have to.
Why should you have an opinion on anything? Like Junior wasn't made for me either. I had loads of opinions about Junior.
Because Greg made us watch it.
I'm telling you honestly, like this is a thing, and I'm looking at it and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, okay, it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I am a person who has grown up on the outside of feeling at least like I've grown up on the outside of everything. I've always felt like a weirdo and a loser and an outsider when I was a younger kid. And it took, you know, I don't know, 20 years to feel like I was starting to.
Now you can relate to a billionaire.
My entire life has been like anti-popularity. So like if something was popular, I didn't want it. I didn't want to see the movie that everyone wanted to see. I didn't want to listen to the album that everyone was listening to. This isn't my scene. You all can fucking, you know, be joiners, and I'm going to be out here listening to punk rock music and flipping you off. This stuff wasn't like made for me either, but I said earlier, I sat adjacent to it for a while and listened to it and saw this documentary and was like, you know what? She has a bunch of songs that I think are really catchy. There are a couple that I actively like where I'm like, it comes on and I'm like, oh, good, this song, like I like it. Cruel Summer, I'm like, that's a fucking great song, man.
I was really hoping that was going to be a cover of Banana.
I knew you were going to say that. Bananarama.
I was like, this
no.
isn't Bananarama.
No, and, you know, Cruel Summer by Bananarama. I think that's a cover actually also. I think someone else wrote that song.
Is it really?
Well, yeah, I think so. I'm not
Super
positive.
Junk does a good cover of that cover.
Yeah.
So where are we at on this episode? So, are we in the what do we like, what we don't like?
We're in
rating?
The grading time. We've reached grading time.
It's kind of interesting. It's like because we've kind of covered everything from just her whole career to this actual documentary to you know, I guess it's more of just the
episode was more about her and her career, yeah, because I didn't really know much about her. So
neither did we.
yeah, totally. That's why I brought it out too, because I was getting to the Eras tour because I watched it with Margaret and Pearl, and I was like,
yeah. So why didn't you do that? Like,
well, there's a couple of reasons.
A couple reasons. A concert film, right?
Yeah, it's a concert film, and it's new. It just came out last year, so I was like, that's great. It's a new movie. It's still out there. It's still being talked about. It's still being watched. But at the same time, I was like, you know, and my wife pointed this out too. Like, if you want to introduce people who don't know Taylor Swift to this person as an artist and a person, it's probably not the best, you know, movie to give them, because first of all, the regular version is 2.5 hours. Taylor's version is 3.5 hours, and
like
it is a giant Super Bowl halftime show, but done way better than the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm like, she's never done the Super Bowl halftime show because it isn't big enough. And it's I was watching this watching and I was like, holy shit, like every step and every like note, everything is so incredibly choreographed. It's kind of insane to behold, but it's also a very flashy, very, gaudy. It plays into the narrative that she is a package, like a thing that you buy, which is what my original opinion of her had been. So yeah, my wife was like, it's probably not the best thing to introduce them to. And I was like, that's true. And it's really long.
Is it just a 3.5 hour long concert film,
it's
or is
a
there like
fucking
behind the
concert
scenes stuff too, like this?
It's like Stop Making Sense. It's just a concert.
Yeah.
And and it is like incredibly impressive how the fuck they pull everything off. She like swims under the stage and stuff. Like, what the fuck is going on?
My youngest is like way into BTS, and there's a concert film called Permission to Dance. It's like
Permission to Dance. Granted.
Once a week, like I'll walk downstairs and he's watching Permission to Dance. And it's like this, it's like a Super Bowl halftime show where it's so heavily choreographed, and people pop out of trap doors, and there's smoke and fire, and costume changes every 3 songs, and crazy graphics, and it's just like, this is a whole industry that
holy
I
crap,
just did not know was a thing.
People need to be entertained.
Yeah, I know the Eras Tour. I was just like, I've seen many concerts. I've seen many concert, movies and stuff. I was just like, holy fucking shit.
Did you watch, which version did you watch?
I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched probably
Taylor's
like 8 or 10 songs, and then everyone went to bed because it's super long. But
who played Taylor Swift in the non-Taylor's version?
Yeah,
there's a stand-in. The understudy.
Sailor Twift played her. I felt like it's too much. And it's too glitzy, and it doesn't tell the story better. And my wife played this other movie, Miss Americana, after that, and I was like, this is it. Yeah, this is it, because you get to know stuff about someone you don't know shit about. And she's put up with a lot and just eating it, starting with the whole Kanye thing and all the other like hashtag, bash sessions and public banishment and all this other crap. I'm like, that is a lot of shit to deal with in that small amount of time.
Yeah.
Pearl quiz part 3. Do you have a super hard one?
Well, it might not be that hard.
We'll see.
Okay.
I'm kind of a dummy, so I might not know it. It must be terrible always rooting for the anti-hero. Is that right?
Yeah, you're not getting the lyrics right, but what's the what's the title?
It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Oh my gosh.
Is it the?
You're very bad at this.
Is it anti-hero?
Yes.
All right. Like from age 14 to 25, she was under the microscope, had like a breakdown at age 25. That's crazy. And then that she came back from that and then found an actual voice as an advocate and, for herself and for others. I was like, I'm pro her, man. I think she's interesting. She's an interesting person. She's been through a lot of shit. Fucking A, man. I got some props.
Fucking A.
Fucking A.
So is that what you give her? A fucking A?
Fucking A. Yeah, I would, as a movie, this Miss Americana movie, as a documentary, I'd give it like, C+. Like, I think it's a gauzy documentary. But how it's made, I would give it a C+. Content, like the interestingness of the content, like if you're interested in learning about this person, yeah, I'd give it a B+. I was like, yeah, damn, way more interesting than I thought it would be. So I'll overall give the movie a B. I'll give my wife's playlist a B plus. I enjoyed listening to most of the songs on the playlist. I was like, and some of them I was like, hey, great, it's this tune. So yeah.
For me, pop music is not heavily dissected in my brain to where it's it's either fun and entertaining or and I begrudge nobody getting the bag, be a billionaire, great, like, get your money. You earned it, go for it. So it's not like an issue I have with it. I think for me it's really just music resonate. Like, I don't reach for a Taylor Swift album, so, and that's probably maybe an age thing, but but for like the hits, the bangers, like whatever, like a lot of them are catchy and good, and I liked some of the songs, and I knew quite a few of them just from, like, not that I listened to the radio a ton, but the documentary, I think, tough because it's definitely from the inside of her own camp. I mean, so, but I think it does a good job of kind of showing that, there's a person there that's not just like this, like, propped, pop star. I mean, everyone has their own story. And you don't get to that place without putting in the work and being talented, right? Like, you just don't, no one can just manufacture you to be a mega star. Like, you have to, has to be a work ethic and a drive in there. So, I give it a C plus. I kind of had a hard time getting through it. So, just cause
kind of dealing with that.
just because it's not like I'm not a super fan, it's like watching
same.
It's like watching a music documentary about a band that you don't either like or know anything about, and you're like, okay, I'll go into this with a openness, but I like, I definitely would find, if I was super into the artist, I'd be like really interested in their songwriting process, and like, because I know that song, and this is how it came together.
Like, I Am Trying to Break Your Heart with the Wilco one.
Man,
I was like that with that one. Where I was like, I love this band, and this is a good documentary. Yeah. It's not off limits. But that's something I would have done more. But
but that's a good analogy. Like, something that's like, obviously you're going to be more into it if you're into the band or the musician, or the person. So, I put it at like a C plus of just like, and the playlist I think was a good mix. Like I said, I don't really connect much with the singer songwriter songs, like maybe some of her more folky type stuff, because I think for me there's just other musicians that fill that gap in my life, just because of age and things like that. So, but in terms of like the popular song, like the banger type, more disco-y type, glittery, I think they're fun, like, and the ones that I know, like I said, I liked Bad Blood. I like Blank Space. I heard that, I think pretty much 1989 was, like you said, it was like fucking explosion. You couldn't get away from that.
Humongous album.
And I do remember Cruel Summer, and some of the ones that surprised me was Jenna also mentioned, I asked her what songs that she liked, and she said Exile, and I said to her, I'm like, hey, that's the one I really liked. So
there's a reason we're together.
I was like, I like that one. I don't think she knows who Pawnee Bear is, but that kind of stuff. So I give the playlist gets a solid B.
Solid B.
All right. Joshua.
Yeah. All right, guys. I don't know. I'm just gonna
wet blanket.
The documentary itself.
All right, guys.
Joshua hates rich people. So let's put it out there.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't know what you want to say. It's a documentary about Taylor Swift. It's fine.
It's fine.
I went from a level of just ambivalence Taylor Swift, like, okay. To definitely feeling a little bit more humanized. I have a little bit more understanding of the person that is Taylor Swift, that then became the corporation called Taylor Swift. Again, it's inside her camp, so it's not the bare truth, but it is a version of the truth, and I do feel a little bit more informed than I was before I watched it, so it served a purpose. Aesthetically, it was a thing, and I saw it on TV. No. I'll never watch it again, that's for sure. So I give it, but it wasn't like a travesty or anything, so I'll give it like a C minus. the playlist itself, really appreciative of Margaret putting it all together. It did a really good job of piecing together the whole, like, a nice spectrum of her entire career. I was surprised. Again, I went from like a level of ambivalence of just like thinking I knew what Taylor Swift was, but not caring enough to really do any investigation on my own.
Yeah,
so
that's where I used to be.
So I definitely feel more positive about her than I did before you announced that we were going to do a Taylor Swift episode. There's again, I'm going to go and I'm going to listen to Evermore. Because like I genuinely am interested in like what the rest of the songs on that album are, because I feel like I heard a glimmer of things that do connect with me in those songs. The nobody, no cries aside.
Nobody, no crime.
I could have sworn that was a cover.
So I don't know. Yeah, either I'm an alien on Earth or Taylor Swift is, because I just don't understand the connection to it. I just don't understand pop music, like this level of popularity, how people like take themselves out of themselves and like, this is what I'm all about. And like, okay, that like, I don't connect with it. I don't get it, but I also don't care enough to try and understand it because it just doesn't intersect with my life in any way, shape, or form. So I'm fine with it being what it is. So am I a Swiftie? No, I'm not a Swiftie. Am I gonna like maybe check out some of her work when she comes with a new album? Like maybe I'll give it a listen just to see where she's at these days. But I'm gonna give it a B minus. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B minus, which is higher than I thought I would give it, honestly.
Yeah.
But that's what you call growth.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's what you call growth.
I know. I feel the same way over. It's like I've been resistant about knowing any of her stuff or knowing anything about her. Like I said, I've always felt like an outsider, and I'm like, if it's super popular, I don't want it. But also, if you can't be influenced by and listen to the people who you love that live with you and you see them every day, then what are you fucking doing? If you can't at least listen and evaluate something that's really important to someone that you love, then you're doing it wrong. You're doing the love thing wrong or something. So yeah, I was like, just fucking shut up and listen to this stuff. And you know what? We have a great time driving to and from soccer practice.
Absolutely.
With Pearl cranking music in the car.
And if that's joy, it's a dark, shitty world sometimes.
It's
and people
awesome.
have every right to find some joy where they're going to find joy. So I do not begrudge anyone.
And I've for years been playing music for Pearl, trying to get her into music, and she's like, yeah, okay, I like music a little, I guess. So it's kind of awesome to have a car ride where she's fucking cranking tunes and like, I'll sing along with her and stuff. It's a good time.
Yeah. It's
a good memory for me, and I hope it continues to be a good memory for her, as she gets older. Like, yeah, I used to jam out with my dad in the car to Taylor Swift tunes.
And I will say, as we've been talking about this, because I have been a little bit of a curmudgeon on billionaires.
I'm a curmudgeon on billionaires too, yeah.
But I will say, okay, she's a billionaire, and that's crazy that she's a billionaire. But when you take a look at all the different ways that you can become a billionaire, hers is probably the least exploitative of the different flavors of billionaireism. Is that a word? So, I definitely hold, after all of this, her in a higher regard than probably any other billionaire that I know of, and any other pop star that I know of.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like what,
personally
300 billionaires on the planet, something like that.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I'll get a spreadsheet together if you like. I'll rate them if you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely again came out of this with feeling more positive about Taylor Swift than I went in. So mission accomplished. Pearl and Margaret.
Pearl grades me on my quiz performance. All right, I feel very accomplished. at getting this. How did I do? Do you think I did from an A to an F on a grading scale? How did I do?
D-.
D minus. I got them all though. That's a crappy grade. D minus. All right, fine. I'm not a Swiftie. I'd never make a good Swiftie. and then it's always fun to get a little quiz from Pearl and have her rip on me for screwing stuff up.
I feel like you got at least a C plus there, Dad.
Yeah, I mean,
I know. I got all 4 of them right. She was like D. Whatever she got, I think she gave me a D plus. Little jerk.
All right. Well, what are we doing next week?
Yeah, whatever.
Who's up? Brian, you're up.
I'm
Brian.
Do you know what we're going to do next week?
I know what you think we're gonna do, but I
You don't know my brain.
He doesn't have the heart.
You think I'm gonna drop Steely Dan on you, but I'm
He
not.
doesn't have the heart to do it.
Well,
you don't have the nuts.
Yeah, you don't have the nuts. How have you guys never seen Bloodsport?
I've never seen Bloodsport.
Never seen Bloodsport.
By choice. Again.
What?
I've never seen a single
It just looked dumb.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Dumb. Oh, man, I've seen all of those, man. From the Fangoria years.
Fangoria did.
Oh, you know what I heard today? And this is just very briefly, that the guy who played Freddy, Robert Englund, he auditioned for Luke Skywalker for the first Star Wars movie and was turned down. And then he told his roommate, Mark Hamill, to audition for Luke Skywalker.
Come on.
Freddy fucking Krueger was roommates with Mark Hamill, and they both auditioned for Luke Skywalker.
That's the power of the dark side right there, my friend.
That's awesome.
That's the fucking weirdest thing I've heard in a long time, man. I just read that today.
That's amazing.
Anyway, Brian, what are we gonna consume next?
I've been kind of going back and watching the Mad Max movies. And I see this list on here. I don't know if I added this, but Escape from New York.
I've never seen Escape from New York.
Yeah, and
I have.
feel
Like a long time ago.
I know a lot of
good,
theater
like,
nerds that are way into that movie, man.
Yeah, I think that could be fun to watch. I've never seen it, but
It's old Kurt Russell,
Kurt
right?
Russell,
yeah.
Snake.
Plissken.
Plissken. Yeah, I've never seen it.
I haven't seen it either. Yeah, I'm down for that.
I've
man.
seen
It's
that
kind of
and Escape from LA.
Oh,
yeah, it's the sequel.
Should we
Right?
double header?
Hey.
and
Double feature?
Big Trouble in Little China to a 3-fer
Jack Burton.
of Kurt Russell.
Are they all John Carpenter?
No, I was just
okay.
Kurt Russell movies, and then we watched the Santa Claus movie where he's Santa Claus.
Then we
the
watched
Christmas Chronicles.
Overboard with him and Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn. I've seen that movie like 15 times
Me
because
too.
it was on cable.
It was always
Oh
on
my
USA
God.
or something.
Yeah, she's a rich socialite, and she falls in the water,
Yeah.
and then he lies to her and pretends they're married.
Then we watched Captain Ron.
Captain Ron. It's like the hot pockets of
I
movies.
should put Captain Ron on this list.
Adding Captain Ron.
Isn't that Martin Short for that?
Captain Ron. Yeah, I think he is. I never saw Captain Ron.
Captain Ron is now on the list.
Looked like shit on a stick.
Captain Ron. I remember the preview
It's
for
so
that.
bad. Oh man.
Oh man. Okay, so Escape from New York.
I want to put the Bad News Bears on the list too.
Why? No, everyone's seen that.
I've never seen it.
Has everyone
You've
seen
never
that? I
seen
was
the
gonna
Bad
say
News
someone
Bears?
hasn't seen the Bad News Bears. I want to watch that again. I haven't seen it since like the 80s or
Holy
something.
shit! How have you not seen that?
I think I lived in Germany at the time when it came out.
you have seen the movies The Bad News Bears?
There's
the
an
bells?
entire decade that I lived
There's the
like,
baseball.
in another country and with only VHSs that were sent to us.
Walter Matthau.
Lived under a rock, man.
That's like 2 movies in a row that I've actually wanted to watch. Like I don't know Wall Street. All right.
Riding the bus to work, just reading cartoons in Newsweek magazine, listening to Massive Attack.
All right. Thank you, Pearl.
You did okay.
Thanks. Say bye-bye. You're not going to do it, are you?
You're horrible at this.
All right. Bye.